Welcome to the Call to Harmony, where we explore the inner journey to oneness with self, others, and the divine. Welcome back, everybody. We have spent some time, if you've been listening, talking about melody. We've talked about dissonance, and now we're kind of transitioning into the harmony phase and talking about what that experience is like as you begin to practice harmony and how that looks. We're lucky to get some more stories and experiences from Tucker.
I'm just glad we get to talk about harmony now because it is the most hopeful, inspiring, exciting thing about life is the fact that we can live life in a whole different way than maybe we ever knew we could. Let me just tell a story of a time when I discovered that harmony is available in any given moment. I had still had a bunch of questions and things like that. As far as faith goes, I was in a place of tons of questions, but yet had a couple of experiences that I was like, well, I don't need all the answer to my questions. I just want to dwell in this harmony space.
Oh.
And so I had a meeting that was kind of a high stakes meeting where there would be policies and things discussed. And I also knew it could potentially be a really uncomfortable meeting because there would be many viewpoints that I wasn't comfortable with at this time. And I had often had experiences where I just wanted to run from the room and be like, because I would hear viewpoints and things I just knew could potentially harm others. And I was like, what do I do? But when I would speak up, especially when I was speaking up from a place of dissonance, it wasn't well received. And I got the message of like, don't speak up here. That just makes it uncomfortable. And it wasn't having a lot of positive results. So I felt like my speaking up wasn't helpful. And I was reading this book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, one of my favorite books of all time. And he talks about feeling your inner body. And that sounds like a really elusive concept. So maybe we'll pause for a second so I can explain what I mean or what he means. But he talks about practicing being still so that you can feel your body from the inside. So to feel your body from the inside, if we were to just to do a quick practice right now, I would just ask you to slow down and see if you can feel the life inside your hands. We'll just invite whoever's listening to try this right now. If you can get still enough inside, you'll start to feel maybe a tingling in your hands, maybe subtle vibrations in your hands, just kind of feelings of life coming from inside your hands. And I've tried this with people sometimes where they're just like, I don't feel anything. They were like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't feel anything. And a lot of times that just means that our minds are caught up in thoughts, or we've got some emotions going on that our body is processing, our mind is processing, and we're having a hard time getting still enough just to feel the subtle things, right?
Yeah.
So can I just ask you, Savannah, could you feel like subtle tingling or vibration in your hands?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, the tingling.
Okay.
Cool. It was more a tingling sensation. Yeah.
Right.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. It's something that we don't ever pay attention to.
Yeah.
But it's actually something that can be an anchor for us to help us get to a place of stillness. And so Eckhart Tolle says, just sit with that sensation in your hands and then let it spread down your forearms, your arms, your head, your torso, your legs, all the way to your toes until you can feel that tingling or that vibration throughout your whole body. And that takes some practice, right? A lot of times my mind would like get caught up in a thought and then I would lose that and then I would have to come back. But I started practicing this as I was reading The Power of Now until I could get to this place of stillness that was just amazing. It was just a peaceful, amazing sensation that I would sit in. And Tolle says, if you can practice feeling your inner body just during the day while you're going throughout everyday things, you'll find that a new level of consciousness comes into your life
Mm,
and that you'll react to different in different situations. Let me share a time when I practiced that even before this meeting that we started talking about. I was about to go into a building for work and talk to an administrator. And as I walked in, he came up and started talking to me in the hall. I would have normally reacted by dissonance coming up inside of me. I don't know if I would have said anything out loud, but I've been like, oh, why do we have this viewpoint or this mindset? It's not helpful. There are people that aren't included when we think this way. And I would have just gone into this place of dissonance and maybe a little bit of even contention inside
oh,
myself of like, man, why can't we get past this mindset? But this certain day, I walked in and I was like, I'm going to pay attention to my inner body the whole time I'm in this building. And we started to have a pleasant conversation. And in the course of this conversation, one of these viewpoints came up and I could feel my reactions start to come up, but I was like, no, I gotta stay still and feel the inner body. And the most amazing thing happened, Savannah, where as this reaction came up inside of me, it had somewhere to go. It didn't hit a ceiling and
mm,
create like an inner cycle of contention inside me. It just flowed out of me because I was paying attention to my inner body, and the conversation continued, and I was able to connect with this administrator in a way that I never would have been able to without paying attention to my inner body. And I was connecting with him from a space of peace, and we strengthened our relationship. And I walked away from this like, what in the world just happened? I
mm,
didn't know that it was possible to practice harmony or to have a connecting experience with somebody that I have a completely different viewpoint or mindset from, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Well, even just in the practice I just did with just my hands, I mean, that took a lot of focus for
Yeah.
me. I was just like, "Okay, hands, hands, hands." So, as you're having a conversation with someone, I'm just curious, like, what that really looked like if you're concentrating on the inner body experience, the tingling, the whatever vibration, those things.
Mhm.
How did you still stay engaged in a conversation that was happening while and maybe it's a practice thing where, you get to the point where it's easier to feel and recognize those vibrations and then you can, but I think if you were saying anything, you probably actually did say words while I was focusing on my hands in this podcast, but I don't remember what you said because I was thinking
Absolutely.
about my hands. So how would you say that's a practice that you were able to, you know, pay attention to the inner body energy and listen to this administrator as well?
Yeah,
Or
that's such a great question,
how did
Savannah.
you actually do that?
Yeah, absolutely. It needs to be practiced. Mindfulness, being aware is something that only comes with practice. And as we practice, this is what we learn to do is not pay attention to the inner body or be mindful at the exclusion of something that is happening around us, but we actually use that energy as part of the attention that we are paying to what's happening around us. That's really hard to explain. Let me see if I can say it this way. What I was practicing was listening to this person with every cell of my body, including the inner body and my energy.
Mm,
And so, if I would have done that without this practice, I probably wouldn't have been fully listening to him anyway, because once he said something that went against my views,
your
my
own
brain
views.
would be like, why is that? Why is that coming up? And rarely are we ever fully present because we're thinking, we're evaluating, we're judging, we're doing things in our mind all the time rather than bringing our full presence to the situation. So,
Yeah.
what I would say is, yes, I had been practicing this. And so I don't think, if I had learned it 30 seconds before, I would have been able to do what I did in that moment. But this was one of the first times where I brought it into a social situation and I was able to interact with somebody and stay focused on bringing my full presence to the moment.
Mm,
And then when I was tempted to become less present because the reaction was rising, I was able to see it, let go of it, and then come back to presence with the person. And so
Yeah.
it's like I was listening with every cell of my body and including my thoughts and feelings. Everything was coming to bear on this present moment.
Yeah.
So the inner energy, the inner body helps you keep tabs on, am I right here, right now, or have I gone into my mind to
Yeah.
process it?
Yeah. That makes sense.
I walked away from that like, oh my goodness. There's that song from Cars, Life Could Be a Dream, right?
Oh, yeah.
When I just walked away from that saying, wait, if I did that in every moment, every interaction, every place I ever was, life would be absolutely incredible. I would be able to connect with anybody in any setting. I would be able to use any setting, any situation for a spiritual practice to deepen my own connection to all beings and all things, to myself, to the divine. Life could become an absolute dream.
Yeah.
And so I was excited. I left that kind of transformed with a new way of wanting to live my life.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Now, I didn't live my life exactly like that after that. I would often, just totally lose contact with the inner body, lose contact with presence, get into my own mind, into my old mind patterns. And so it was an ideal that I was seeing that I wasn't inhabiting or I wasn't living at
Mm.
the time.
Mhm. Yeah. Obviously, the practice that you'd need to get to a place where you were when you had that conversation, but to maintain that practice, I mean, mental, emotional, physical well-being, health, like, I mean, you think of the consistency it takes to physically remain healthy and grounded and, all of those things. And we're not all in our best shape all the time forever. So it's like this mental, emotional, spiritual, well-being that I feel like is encompassed in this process of what we're talking about and seeking harmony, practicing harmony. I'm sure it's a lifelong thing of practicing, and there'll be seasons of life where you are so embedded in harmony, that it's like life truly is a dream. And then there's other things that come into life that make things difficult to practice harmony and other things. So I think it's good that you shared that, though, because it's a real expectation for people who are listening that harmony isn't once you've reached it, it's not a point that you reach like we've talked about. These aren't stages you just progress through. You kind of float and ebb and flow through all of them. And
Mhm.
so harmony isn't just this final destination. It's something that we can practice and can start to feel and experience more often, but it's not a permanent, I mean, ideally it's a permanent state, but I think for us human beings, it's hard to maintain that forever.
Absolutely. Yeah, well said. Maybe those initial experiences of tasting harmony are really important for giving us the vision of what might be,
Yeah,
right?
for
As
sure.
we continue to practice. And it's so motivating
Yeah.
to walk out of a situation like that and be like, "Oh my goodness, it's possible." So, let's talk about that meeting.
Yeah.
I walk into this meeting. So that was a individual interaction, and in social interactions, I started wanting to practice this. And there was this one particular meeting that was a high stakes meeting where I knew there was going to be policies formed and things that would affect a lot of people. And normally I would have gone into this meeting like, okay, I've got to make my will known and enforce it and like articulate my viewpoint the best I can so that we can do as much good as possible. And I would have gone in there just kind of ramped up, right? Like, okay, I gotta I gotta make the impact that I'm supposed to make in this meeting. And it would have been my willpower that I was taking into it
Yeah.
to make the impact. But this day, I was like, I'm gonna try to keep contact with the inner body during this meeting. And I knew it was gonna be a couple hours long.
Mm.
And so I went in there and the meeting started. And right away, I could feel the temptation to like go into my head and go into that almost battle mode. But I was like, all right,
Yeah.
inner body, Tucker, inner body. And so I relaxed. I became still. I started to feel that energy throughout my body. And kind of like that earlier situation that I described, I could feel my reactions coming up, my mind wanting to engage in combat mode. And as I stayed anchored in that inner body, it would just flow out, flow
Hmm.
out. And I started to feel like this intense bliss during this meeting. And it was almost once in a while, my mind would be like, how are you so happy right now? This meeting is
Like,
intense and people
still
are,
trying to battle you.
yeah, yeah. And it sounds like maybe I was avoiding the meeting by like trying to go into a state of consciousness and avoid the conflicts that were coming up in the meeting, but I was still present with what was going on.
Hmm.
There was actually a little bit of a temptation in me to just completely ignore what was happening in the room and just soak in this beautiful feeling of presence and bliss. But I knew that wasn't going to help anybody outside of me in the moment, or I didn't
Yeah.
think it would. So I tried to keep coming back to the meeting, being present with every cell of my body. And I noticed there were moments where I knew I would have like spoken up if I was in dissonance
Hmm.
and tried to push back. But I let it go because I was like, no, it's okay. It's all right. And then I didn't know that this was going to happen, but these windows of opportunity opened up for me to speak my mind. But because I was staying anchored in the inner body, I was speaking from a totally different place than I would have normally.
Yeah.
And what I said had more influence and resonance than it would have if I had been coming from a contrary point of view.
Willpower. Yeah.
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 Because there's this instinct, right? When somebody raises an opposite point of view, we choose a side and get in a tug of war.
Yeah.
And something miraculous, I felt like I was watching this happen because all I was doing was staying present with the inner body, and then these moments would come up and I'd say, "Hey, I have something to add here. What about this?" And it's almost like I was watching these insights come up and be spoken by me and be like, wow, that's really interesting that that communication was able to happen and it was well received. And now we're moving in a different direction. And it was effortless. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
me. I wasn't pushing this forward. I wasn't using any of my willpower. And it was a really amazing experience. Like that 2 hour meeting, I came out of that saying, I don't know if I've ever been happier in my life in a meeting.
Yeah.
And happy is a hard word because we use happy with, Christmas morning and getting a new car and stuff like that. But it wasn't that. It was, I don't know if I've felt more centered, grounded, peaceful, content, and harmonious in my life than
Yeah.
I'd been during this meeting that otherwise would have been a really challenging, difficult space for me.
Yeah. That's awesome. Oh, I think you're making all of us, including myself and any listener. I wonder if listeners are feeling, well, that story's beautiful. And I feel like that's super inspiring. And like, that is kind of the goal, right? To get to a place where an otherwise, in another mental state or emotional state, spiritual state, whatever state, for like beginner practicers, what would you what would be a realistic expectation or scenario or situation where you feel like someone could try and practice this like inner body energy? Because a 2 hour, I'm assuming, church meeting, that might be difficult for some to start there for harmony,
Right.
especially if they're
Absolutely.
experiencing difficulty at church or whatever it might be. But what might be, yeah, a real expectation for someone who's just beginning this practice?
Great question. Well, definitely the two stories that I've shared so far were social practices that I was doing with other people involved.
Yeah.
And I would say that is not where I would start. I would
Yeah.
start just on my own, by myself, practicing coming to stillness all alone. And so maybe we do that right now. Would that be okay, Savannah, if we do just a brief practice?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just invite all the listeners to find a chance to just be still If you want to come back to this later, we'll post it as a standalone practice as Season 2, Episode 1. Season 2 will be a collection of standalone meditations and practices, so you don't have to search inside of episodes to find them. If you want to skip ahead in this episode and save the practice for later, you can go to timestamp 2903. So let's go ahead and settle in. Get in a comfortable position for you, likely sitting down. You can sit cross-legged. You can sit just in some position where you can keep your spine straight. That is usually key to remaining alert. And you might close your eyes during this practice so that you're not distracted by what you're seeing. And just take a moment to relax into your body. Notice how your body feels right now. Notice if there are any aches or pains or sensations that are drawing your attention, and just allow them to be there. Go ahead and take a slow, deep, intentional breath. And as you let it out, exhale any tension that you have in your body. Take another breath and just pay attention to the sensation of the air coming into your lungs, bringing life into your body. And as you exhale, just notice the natural relaxation that comes into your body as you exhale. And now let's make this an inner body practice. Go ahead and bring all of your attention to your hands. Let your hands maybe be lying relaxed and open. And just bring your full attention, full consciousness to your hands. See how they feel. See if you can feel your hands from the inside. You might start to feel a little vibration, maybe something like effervescence inside your hands. If you can't feel anything, it's okay. Don't get frustrated, but just be curious about, can I bring even more attention into the sensation that's coming from focusing on my hands completely? And go ahead and even intensify that intention and see if the sensation grows and becomes more intense itself. And when I say intensify, this isn't willpower. You don't have to grit and bear down in your attention, but just bring all of your focus and concentration to the sensation of your hands, being completely aware of them. And now go ahead and let your attention move to your forearms and see if you had any sense of energy in your hands, if you can sense any energy in your forearms. Oftentimes it's a little easier to sense the energy in your hands, and as you move to other body parts, it can be a little bit more difficult. And that's okay. See if you can focus on your forearms and see if the energy from your hands starts to flow toward or seep into your forearms. If you're not feeling anything, go ahead and just breathe into your forearms and see if, as you take a breath and focus on your forearms, if more sensation arises there. And let's do the same with your upper arms, all the way up into your shoulders. Breathe into your upper arms and shoulders. See if you can feel your hands and all of your arms and shoulders all simultaneously. Sense any energy, vibration, or anything that's present there from the life energy. Now bring your focus to your neck and head, your face. Sometimes your face, and especially around your lips and mouth, can be a place where that energy seems to concentrate or be more intense. See if you can notice any body parts there that have the energy present and accessible. Maybe notice your scalp. Breathe into your scalp. See if that awareness intensifies at all, that sensation. Bring our awareness down into our chest and abdomen. On your next breath, breathe life energy into that area of your body. And on the exhale, just relax fully and see if that energy becomes more apparent as you're still and focused at that region of your body. Now with your next breath, let's bring our attention to our legs, your upper legs, your thighs, hips. See if you can feel any life energy arising there, any vibration as you bring your attention and you breathe into that space. Bring your attention down to your calves, your knees, calves, down into your feet, your toes. Breathe into that area of your body. You might even notice that part of your body or any part of your body, as you focus on it and breathe into it, becomes a little bit heavy as you relax it. And notice any sensations of energy that arise. Now that we've gone through all these different body parts, see if you can bring your attention to your whole body as one single unified energy field. And that sensation that we started with in our hands, see if you can invite that into your body as a whole. Notice that as you become still and focused here, that your mind becomes more calm. Still, your mind might want to pull you away in different thoughts, or there might be feelings there that are wanting some attention. That's okay. Allow those thoughts to arise and subside. Allow feelings to arise and subside, and bring your attention back to the energy inside your body, that inner body. We're feeling our body from the inside and allowing stillness to hold us and us to hold stillness. Just notice as we wrap up how you're feeling. And as you breathe into your whole body, maybe you're feeling a little bit more connected to yourself, connected to the present moment. You can go ahead and open your eyes and see if you can keep attention on your inner body as you start to re-engage with the world around you, the sights and sounds. And keep some of your attention in that inner body as you look around, notice your surroundings. And as Eckhart Tolle would say, make it your practice to never lose contact with your inner body. So there you go. There's a little inner body awareness practice that can help you find harmony in any challenging conversation, meeting, or situation where you find yourself getting pulled into your thoughts and emotions. Try it out, see if it helps. We'll post it as its own episode so that you can go directly to that practice, that meditation, and practice bringing the awareness of your inner body to the foreground and letting thoughts, emotions, and other things go to the background so you can be fully present and practice harmony right here, right now. And Savannah, that's the type of thing that I would practice over and over and over again on my own. And once you can get that sense of stillness, then it's time to start to try to do little things and hold on to that stillness. Like I might finish that and be like, okay, now I'm going to go brush my teeth
Yeah.
and keep track of my inner body, or I'm going to go have a conversation with my wife and keep track of my inner body.
Yeah.
And that's what the practice becomes after that.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that and guiding us through it.
Yeah. And I want to pause for a second here because maybe that didn't go great for everybody. maybe maybe some people experienced, oh, my mind just would not stop. Like I couldn't focus on it, or I couldn't feel the energy in some part of my body. I couldn't even feel it in my hands. Maybe we address really quick why that might happen.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, if we're having a hard time accessing that sense of inner energy, it's because we've got some emotions that are blocking us from that level of energy. If I've got some unprocessed emotions, I can't feel my hands, right? I can't feel that inner energy. So I know that, oh, I need to like go to those emotions and process those emotions first so that I
Mm,
can get to that deeper level of the inner body. So if anybody had that experience when we tried that and you're just like, I can't feel any of this energy you're talking about, that's totally normal. It's totally
yeah.
okay. There might be some emotions there that need to be felt and processed first. Another thing it might be that your mind is just going so quickly. It's just worrying like a hamster on a wheel.
Mhm.
And when your mind is caught up in thoughts, worries, fears, what happens is we get into this thought and emotion loop where a thought kicks up, which causes an emotion, which causes additional thoughts, which causes more emotions. And it's like a hamster wheel that we
Mhm.
just can't get off of. And if you're caught in that thought and emotion loop, the inner body is just inaccessible.
Yeah.
And so we'll do some practices in a later episode of how to short circuit those loops by feeling our feelings and getting into a place of stillness so that we can get to that inner body and those deeper levels.
Yeah. That'll be great.
But
Well, I was just gonna say, I think maybe adding to it too that like I feel a little tired right now, just at the end of the week. This is a Saturday, and I still feel like I was able to feel things, but I feel like my fatigue also was influencing how much I was able to tap into my inner body. Sometimes a workout feels so good, and you're so in tune with it, and everything's going so well, and you can really feel like you're getting a lot out of that. And then there's other times I go work out and I'm like, what is happening? It's like I've never worked out in my life before. Again, I think it's a practice thing. And I think there could be so many things going on, like you said, whether it's that mind emotion loop or other unprocessed emotions. Maybe you're tired. Maybe, you don't have a place to be quiet. Who knows? But I think finding any moment you can to do what you can will probably help with this practice.
absolutely. Yeah, just like physical exercise, there's going to be ebbs and flows, ups and downs.
Mhm.
There's going to be times where you feel like you're making great progress and times where you feel like you're not.
Yeah.
And in those times, I try to keep practicing, not judge my own practice. Like I'm a bad person because this isn't happening or I'm not seeing results from this, but to allow the practice and trust the process and the growth to happen when I'm ready, as I'm ready. And yeah, I think physical working out is a great analogy for this too.
Yeah.
But our commitment is going to help us keep moving forward as we do that.
Yeah. It's great. I think maybe for people, again, I just keep thinking about people who, maybe haven't experienced any of this before. If you've ever gone to therapy or some other things, maybe some mindfulness, meditation stuff has been brought up to you, but maybe there's a lot of listeners that have never engaged in this and maybe this feels quite uncomfortable. Is there anything you would
Mhm.
say for them, for people who, this might be more foreign to this this world of stillness, and we really don't practice it in this society that we live in, the pace of things in this world that we are in. There's so many things grabbing at our attention, so it's hard to really take time to be still. So is there other ways you would recommend maybe introing people, or things you would say to people that feel maybe like this is an uncomfortable thing for them?
Great question. What I would say is just draw on the experiences you've already had in your life. I imagine that every listener has had times in your life when you touched stillness. You had a taste of harmony. Maybe you were in nature and there was a beautiful sunset, or a lot of times nature experiences where you kind of come down out of the hurried mind that you're talking about of our modern society,
Mm.
and you kind of just connect with nature and everything around you. Maybe it was in a religious experience. Maybe it was in a church or a temple or a cathedral or synagogue or something where you just felt very still inside and you felt like everything was okay just as it is.
Mm.
Maybe it was, with family, a beautiful family moment when you're connecting with each other. But I would say think back to these moments when you've tasted stillness and harmony and everything seemed right. And a lot of times our first tastes of harmony come when our circumstances are in a good place.
Hmm.
And so everything kind of lines up, and like our anxiety goes down, our stress subsides, and we're like, okay, everything's good.
Yeah.
And so drawing on those tastes of harmony can be really helpful to us to be like, oh, I know where we're going. I've felt this before. And thinking of what helped you get there. What were you doing in the moment? What was the circumstance like? What was the environment like? And maybe even trying to recreate those types of things can help you taste stillness. Another thing that I might say is be open to new ways to enter into harmony. Because what we're practicing here is finding harmony when our outward circumstances aren't ideal. That's when this thing blows the top off of life, right? When
Yeah.
we're able to practice inner harmony when there's outer chaos. Maybe we referred to that in the last episode when somebody was yelling at me and I was like, wow,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
amazing. I can totally sit with this. I'm not claiming to be an expert at this, but I am wanting to share some experiences where I was absolutely blown away that harmony is possible anywhere, anytime. I'm not the place where I'm feeling it everywhere, every time,
Mhm.
but I am wanting to witness that it is possible. And it's just practice that I want to engage in so that it can become more common more of the time. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps answer the question, but I would just say wherever you're at right now, I would invite you to engage in practicing stillness purposely and not waiting for life to become still in order to find harmony, because those are so few and far between, those moments, those situations, especially in our modern world. We have to intentionally create stillness if we want harmony to be a consistent part of our life.
Yeah. That's great. I think that's helpful for me, at least. There's times that I know I have felt stillness, and if, this new practice feels foreign or uncomfortable, I can kind of start there, but then also being open to new ways to feel harmony.
And I might even say this, I think Eckhart Tolle suggests this as well. If you're having a hard time feeling the inner body, just start by watching your breath. We did that a little bit at the beginning of our practice. And if you can't feel anything of your inner body, at least you can watch your breath. And your breath is always happening in the present, right? Or you can't watch your past breath or your future breath. You can only
Mm.
watch this
The
breath
current.
right here,
Yeah.
right now. And so come into this current moment, watch your breath for a few breaths, and then check and see if you're able to become still and feel that inner body. And don't give up. It takes some practice and persistence up front, but the payoff is going to be transformational so
Yeah.
that harmony becomes a possibility in places you never thought it could.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that.
You bet. Thank you for being with us, everybody. We will catch you next time in our next episode.
See you then. Thank you for listening, and we hope you will join us next time on The Call to Harmony.